What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, we're going to be looking at Alex Pereira's newest Instagram post, which he did post after DDP's fight, but he comes back here and posted again just 14 hours ago last night, saying that he's focused on his next fight and he's getting prepared, but he wants to go back down and fight DDP for the 185 belt. So let's talk about this. Obviously, we've been getting a lot more talk about this recently. He wants to go cut down weight, go back to middleweight. We're going to see skinny Alex Pereira again going back down there. The last time he fought at 185, obviously getting knocked out by Israel Adesanya. So, what does that tell us? If he lost to Izzy, he got knocked out at 185. It seems like he's unstoppable at 205. It just seems like he's so much better there. It seems like he's way more healthy there. There's a lot of different things that we can say looking at this fight. Now, both of these guys, I'm a big fan of both of these guys. I know DDP seems to be more hated within the UFC recently. I'm going to be making a video about that too soon. I think it's mostly just because of the people that he's fought. Obviously, Sean Strickland has a big fan base. Izzy has a big fan base. Even that Robert Whittaker fight, he was a pretty big underdog. But, I mean, this guy undefeated in the UFC so far. I believe 8-0, if my math is right. Something like that, yeah. 8-0 in the UFC so far. He's been fantastic. Only 2 decisions, obviously the one against Strickland, and then another one. It's been 2 years since then, over 2 years since we've seen his last decision before that Sean Strickland fight. He's going to be fighting Sean Strickland again. I don't really know exactly when it is. Who knows at this point? Just fought in August. Knocked out Izzy in the 4th round. Took some damage. Let's not go out there and say that Izzy wasn't fighting well, because, as you guys know, if you've been watching these videos on the channel so far, not a Izzy fan at all, but I had to give him credit during that fight. He looked pretty decent. I mean, there were some chances where it looked like DDP was on the ropes, but as we know, this guy's style is just going out there, like I've said before. DDP gets into the octagon. He says, I'm going to win. He doesn't have a style. He doesn't know what he's doing out there. It doesn't look like he knows what he's doing out there. But that's what makes him so exciting to me as a fan. I mean, he's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC right now. Because, obviously, he's very good at what he does. He can get submission wins. He can get knockout wins. If we look at the start of his MMA career, look from 2016 to 2013. Only one fight that he won in 2014 did not come from, this guy loves the rear naked choke, as we can tell. Since then, in the UFC, only 2 submission wins against Darren Till and then against Izzy, as we've seen so far. A lot more knockouts from him because he has the power in his hands to go and knock out his opponents. So what does this mean for Alex Pereira? I know a lot of people are going to be kind of excited if this fight happens because a lot of people want to see DDP lose for some reason. I don't really understand why. He's a pretty entertaining guy on the mic. Obviously, we've seen him make his last 2 opponents cry during the press conferences. I'm sure the Sean Strickland rematch that we'll see soon. Who knows? It might be in January as well. If we don't get the McGregor fight in January, I wouldn't be surprised if we get that again. If we get the DDP fight in January as well against Sean Strickland, who knows when we'll see it exactly. But if he's going to take 6 months in between each fight, I don't think he will. I think he could take less time. Obviously, not going 5 full rounds against Izzy. Got that submission finish, so he definitely did not absorb nearly as much contact in the Izzy fight as he did in the Sean Strickland fight, where he was getting jabbed to death the whole entire time, getting cut around his face, stuff like that. So I'm not going to come out here and give you a prediction on this fight because I don't know if we're actually going to get it. It just seems like too much of a risk for Alex Pereira at this point in his career. Like I said, there's a few different ways you can look at this. Alex Pereira, you can either have him go out there like he has. Since 2023, obviously, we've seen 5 fights. We're about to see 6 since the start of 2023. 6 fights from Alex Pereira. So 2, or I guess That would be, what, 3 a year? Yeah, because we have April, July, November, and then April, June, and I believe he's fighting in either October or November. I forget exactly off the top. I think it's October he's fighting on that card. 307's in October. Either way, 3 fights this year, 3 fights last year. If you're Pereira, I mean, clearly he wants to go out there and stay active. Is his fight against DDP the one that he should go after, though? I don't really think so. I mean, I don't want to be the guy to say, oh, they need to protect Pereira, because I think we can all be honest here. If he goes down and fights DDP at 185, there is a big risk for him there. We can, a completely different conversation if DDP was like, oh, I'm going to go up to 205 and fight Pereira there. Though I still think DDP would still have a good chance. At 185, I think Dricus just, I don't know. I feel like he's just going to look a lot bigger than Pereira during that. The weight cut is not going to be easy for Pereira. As we've seen before, Alex Pereira at 185, those weight cuts, very, very hard, as we've seen. When he comes in on fight day, he comes in bigger, obviously, but DDP comes in pretty big to those fights too as well. He just doesn't look as healthy here as we can see. Right here on the left, he just does not look as healthy. I think that's a pretty obvious statement as well, as we can see here. But he's a big guy, as we know. But DDP just looks, I don't want to say perfect. I was almost going to say perfect for 185. I don't want to get too deep into the glazing there, but obviously he looks really big for 185. I think that's a great weight class for him. I don't think there's anywhere he's moving to. I just think there's too much to risk for Pereira here. I think if you're looking for that super fight, if you really want to change divisions again, go up to heavyweight, because you're not going to have to risk anything. If Pereira goes up to heavyweight and fights whoever, John Jones, Tom Aspinall, whoever it is at heavyweight, maybe he gets an easier fight before that. Maybe they trot him out there. Who knows who they'd have him fight before that. They could have him go up against any of the guys in the top 5 if they want to just see how he looks at heavyweight before he gets that title shot. Have him go up to heavyweight, because if he loses, I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh, that's very disappointing that he went up to heavyweight and lost, because he's moving up a weight class again. Like I said, it's going to be hard for him to cut back down to 185. The last time he did it in 2022 against Izzy in November, he got knocked out. So it's not like Pereira is this undefeatable guy. And like I said, I love Alex Pereira, one of my favorite fighters right now, a legend in the UFC. So that's why I don't want to go out there and give him easy fights so it ruins his legacy, so he doesn't have to go take these hard fights. I just don't think DDP is the fight that you should look for at 185. I don't think he should go back down to 185 in my opinion, because after this, after we see him go against Roundtree, if he wins that fight, we still need the Magomed Ankalaev fight. Like, I think we still need to see that. We can't keep ducking him. Magomed, honestly, should be... I don't want to say that Pereira doesn't deserve the belt, because obviously he does. He's come in since then. But, I mean, if we're talking about... We're going back in history a little bit. Not that far, obviously. Just within like a year and a half, whenever exactly it was. That's... that draw that we had, he should have been the... not the interim champion. He should have been the champion. He should have won that fight when the belt was up for grabs. Magomed Ankalaev should have already been a champion by now. And I'm not even a massive fan of this guy. I just think he won that fight, and he should at least get a championship fight. He's been waiting for so long for no reason, it seems like. Obviously, Yuri deserved those 2 title fights, but did we need to see a rematch from when Pereira knocked him out in November up until June of this year, within like 6, 7, 8 months? Do we need to see him fight again? No, not really. I think we need to see that Magomed fight. After that, we can talk about Pereira maybe moving down or moving back up, but you can't duck Magomed again. I'm not saying that he's ducking him. I'm just saying that Magomed needs that title shot. He completely deserves it. Getting the Bilal Muhammad treatment, it seems like, at this point. And for DDP, I mean, there's a lot of good guys in the middleweight division right now. I feel like he hasn't really talked about the fight as much because, I mean, obviously he would take the fight. I don't think DDP's running from anyone at this point. At 30 years old, though, on this 8-fight UFC win streak, 10 fights total right now win streak in MMA. If he continues to go out and get fights like this, if he beats Sean Strickland, he goes out there, gets another fight after that. Depends on who we'll see next at middleweight. Obviously, Khamzat is in the question. Would we see Khamzat versus DDP next? It depends on what we get. Obviously, Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat next. Whoever wins that fight, I think, gets the next title shot after Sean Strickland. So either we're going to see DDP versus Whittaker twice, or we're going to see DDP versus Khamzat. I don't think we can rob... I don't want to say rob Khamzat of the title shot, because I don't think... I think he doesn't deserve it as much as a guy like Magomed Ankalaev does. Obviously, Ankalaev should get a title fight. He should have got the next one. I don't know why we're bringing Khalil Roundtree in. I know talks about maybe getting him that fight. He only wants to fight in Dubai or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not the matchmakers. But at the end of the day, I don't really need to see this fight. It would be cool to see, but I don't want to say that DDP wins this fight easily, but I've been seeing a lot of people, in the MMA circles, in the UFC circles, kind of agreeing with me at some points. It seems like DDP versus Alex Pereira at 185 at least. DDP's I guess he's the hypothetical favorite. I saw some odds that would say he's like minus 200 or something like that. I think that makes sense because he's going to be able to wrestle. He's going to be able to go down there and try to get a submission on Alex Pereira. I just don't think it's worth it for Pereira at this point in his career at 37 years old. If you're going to chase another super fight, maybe try to drag Izzy back up to 205 and we can get that trilogy. Or at least give Magomed Ankalaev a title fight. It seems like I'm glazing Magomed. I don't know why. I just think he deserves a title shot, obviously, at this point. So, I don't know. Let me know down below. Do you think these guys should fight? Do you think Pereira and DDP at 185 would be an interesting fight? I think it would be interesting, but I am going to give the edge to DDP there, especially if Pereira has to cut back down again. He's getting older. It's been 2 years since he's done that weight cut. 2 years older, obviously, now at 37. It's going to be hard for him. So, let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.